Hello and welcome to Film du Siècle, the film and media channel focused on all things 90s and 2000s. This week, Seb and Olly will be discussing Babe, Pig in the City.
Hello, and welcome to Film du Siècle, the film discussion channel starring myself, Seb, and...
Me, Ollie Johnson.
Hey!
How are you doing?
Yeah, good man, good. Oh boy, have we got a treat to watch today.
Have we?
Yeah. It's Babe, Pig in the City.
Oh, I haven't seen that at all.
Well, it's the sequel. Well, wow. This is going to be interesting because usually we watch a movie we've both watched and we both like, but we're going to be a bit more experimental this month. So this is one that I've seen, but Ollie hasn't. But we've both seen the original Babe, haven't we?
Yeah, I've seen Babe many times as a kid, but it was long enough ago that I don't remember that much of even that.
Well, it was sort of a 90s Christmas movie, wasn't it?
It was, yeah. I remember the farmer dancing and feeding the pig with a bottle.
Yeah, that's a classic scene.
I remember the duck that thinks it's a chicken, or so.
No, yes, he thought it was a rooster because he kept making rooster sounds.
Yeah, and the farmer's wife going, "We really got to do something about that duck."
Yes. It was quite a wholesome movie. You know, there were a lot of nice moments. It was definitely a family movie.
There was a cat that was. The scene was really eerie. That's all I remember. I don't remember what was said, or I just remember the atmosphere.
That cat was a right bastard.
Yeah, and oh no, one of the sheep that he likes dies.
Yes. Do you know what? For a kids' movie, it did have a lot of dark moments. It was a very never-ending story.
I see, yeah. But yeah, that is the summary of my memories of the film Babe.
Mine are the same as yours. I remember it quite well.
And the farmer guessing his weight at the fair. He goes, £16.5, and then the pig takes a whiz and he goes, 4 ounces.
Yes.
I don't know why I remember that bit so clearly.
Because the pee made all the difference, Ollie. The pig peed, and because of that, he got it right.
Yeah.
The pig pissed its way to freedom, Ollie. Oh, yeah. But it's such a good movie. Quite a good cast. I quite liked it. It had a nice ending. It was just an enjoyable film. It felt very fairy tale, but it also felt quite grounded. Even though it's timeless, because it could be set in the past, but they've got cars and phones and stuff, so...
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, the technology kind of dates the setting.
Yeah, it's basically the 90s, but it could very easily be the Victorian era. I don't know. But yes, it had a sequel, because, let's face it, everybody was crying out to find out what happens next to Babe. We need to know what happens next.
This talking pig is...
Yeah, we have to find out what happens to this livestock that I don't think lives very long.
Yeah, well, I've never seen Babe 2, so that's about all I can comment.
Well, you're in for a treat. It's strange because here's some facts about Babe 2.
Yeah.
Completely the same cast. They got everybody back.
Oh, that's good.
Because I don't know if you remember, but Hugo Weaving played Rex the dog.
I don't remember that. I don't think I knew who actors were at the time I watched it.
I think it was quite an early role for him because it was when he was fairly young. He did Priscilla, Queen of the Desert. This was long before Lord of the Rings, keep in mind The Matrix.
I don't know why I almost laughed at that.
I don't know why. I think I was just reminding you that this movie was made a few years before that. He had James Cromwell as Arthur Hoggart. What else was he known for? You know, the farmer.
James Cromwell.
He was known for another big role.
I've definitely seen him elsewhere.
He was in The Green Mile. He was in Star Trek First Contact. But I have a feeling he's known for something else. Oh, he was the old guy who was killed in Babe. I, Robot, not Babe. Nobody kills him in Babe. He was in Spider-Man 3. I don't know who he played in Spider-Man 3. But yeah,
Spider-Man 3 is probably where I've seen him, but I can't think...
Oh, I know what it is. I always get him mixed up with the Kramer character from the Saw movies.
Ah, I see.
But that's a different actor. But I always get the two of them mixed up for some reason.
Right.
Mickey Rooney is in Babe 2.
Interesting.
Also, Jim Cummings plays a pelican.
Huh.
I don't remember that. Naomi Watts provides additional voices.
Right.
But yeah, they got everyone who was in the original back to reprise their roles, which I think is quite remarkable. I mean, it was only made, 4 years after the first Babe? Well, Ollie, here's a bit more interesting trivia for you about Babe Pig in the City.
Go on.
Did you know that Babe Pig in the City got a video game adaptation?
Really?
It got its own video game in 2006.
Okay.
It wasn't a movie. 8 years after the movie came out, it wasn't a movie tie-in. They looked at this movie that bombed and decided that's what the kids want. They want a video game of this.
Okay.
It was on the PS2.
What kind of game was it?
I don't know, but I've actually got it on Amazon.co.uk. I'm looking at the page now. I can discern very little about it. It's a very special day for Babe. This is the product description. The brave little sheep pig has been invited to take part in a grand tournament where the best sheep herders from around the world will compete for ultimate glory. But there's one problem. The tournament is many miles away in the big city. Can you help guide Babe and his sheep safely to the city and win the competition? And here's what it says. A huge hit movie featuring the lovable sheep pig, which grossed over 300 million globally at the box office. That's the first one. This plot is based on the second one. The game is aimed at kids' family. What were you no shit, Sherlock? And involves a mixture of lemmings and puzzle-style gameplay, where Babe has to herd sheep through a series of tricky scenarios, journey through 6 graphical levels, and solve over 50 puzzles to reach your goal and return to the farm.
Okay.
But I like how their big selling point is, wasn't the first Babe good? Even though it's a video game of the second one?
Huh.
Also, the cover art doesn't say anything about Babe Pig in the City, even though it has them with a suitcase.
I see.
So they're marketing themselves on the back of the first one to make a video game of the second one, 8 years after the second movie came out.
Oh, and that's dating it, because these days that would be an indie game premise. And, it might even be good.
Do you know the video game company Blast? It was made by them.
I do not know the video game company Blast.
I've never heard of them in my life. That they mustn't. Maybe this was the zenith of their video game career.
Maybe.
But it's on the PlayStation 2, Ollie. In 2006, was that around the time the PS3 was about to come out?
I think 2006 was around the time the PS3 was coming out.
But yeah, it was in the dog days of the PS2. But who commissioned this game? Who wanted to make this 8 years after the movie?
I mean, surely even the most ardent fan of the film would,
Exactly. I don't understand this. I don't know, I'm quite curious to get this game and play it on some kind of emulator, actually. I wonder if it has cross-platform support.
Maybe.
But I like how it says, customers who viewed this item also viewed Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban and The Chronicles of Narnia, The Lion, Witch and Wardrobe, both video game adaptations. So, I like that. Harry Potter, Narnia, Babe.
Movie tie-in games. The last one of those I played was Captain America Super Soldier.
Was that a tie-in to the first Captain America?
Well, no, it was, it was set around the same time. Like, it was supposed to be set during the events of the movie, and Madam Hydra was in it. And,
okay.
It was a shit Arkham Asylum, basically.
Okay, well, if anyone watching this has played Babe the video game, please give us your impressions on this perhaps underrated masterpiece of video gamery.
Okay.
Oh my god, here's some trivia. Do you remember the other week I was saying that Peter Gabriel should have done the soundtrack to a film?
Yeah.
He did. He did the song in Babe 2, That'll Do, written and composed by Randy Newman, but he sung it, so yeah.
Yeah, I guess that counts.
Yeah, that counts. My prediction came true, even though I predicted something that happened in the 90s.
I'm not sure that's how foresight works.
Also, the budget of Babe, Pig in the City was 90 million.
That seems like a lot of money.
That's nearly Bicentennial Man, Ollie. And it made 69.1 million, which I suppose is a nice number to make. But if you compare it to the original, it had 3 times the budget of the original, which made 254.1 million. So Babe 2 was a huge flop compared to the first Babe.
Yeah. I mean, I can understand, given those numbers for Babe, why you would want a sequel and why you would put a bigger budget behind it. But, yeah.
Is Babe really a franchise launcher? I mean, it's a great movie, and obviously a lot of people went to see it. But
I wouldn't have said so, no.
I mean, what makes you think that first Babe did phenomenally? We made a load more money than what it cost to make. Let's make a movie with 3 times the budget, Babe, Pig in the City.
Why the hell not?
Yeah, I mean, you could see it breaking even, but really being that huge a success compared to the first one?
I mean...
They were blinded by Babe fever, apparently.
Yeah, apparently so. I can't see a talking animal movie making more than $90 million at the box office.
Let's face it, though, if it ever did, it would have been in the 90s.
Yeah, I would say so.
People loved talking animals in the 90s.
Yeah, do you remember those Eddie Murphy Dr. Dolittle movies?
Yes, I do. I'm not sure they'd be as successful today.
I don't think they would.
I mean, you had Ace Ventura. I know technically the animals didn't talk, but it was a working with the animals movie. You had Dunstan Checks In, which we've talked about.
Yeah, we seem to do a lot of animal movies on this channel, don't we?
It's a very 90s thing. It's a time capsule, isn't it?
Yeah.
They don't do that today, and it's sad that they don't.
Well, the closest we got to a real animal movie is the live-action version of The Lion King, and the less said about that, the better.
Yeah. They did not need to make that. They basically made the original, but with slightly less charm this time.
Well, with much less charm.
Yeah, much less charm. I mean, do you remember that Scar musical number?
Oh, God. Okay, let's not dwell on terrible CGI remakes.
It is outside of our remit.
Yeah. The original Lion King, however, is not.
Yeah, coming back to Babe 2, film critic Gene Siskel named it as his choice for the best movie of 1998. And it beat out Saving Private Ryan for that.
That is high praise indeed.
Yeah, and Ebert, his companion, said that he gave the film 4 out of 5 stars and it was more magical than the original Babe.
Yeah, I know who Roger Ebert is.
Well, this is one of those movies that has a bit of a cult following today.
I see.
You know, it bombed at the box office, people love it today.
Okay, you've piqued my interest, let's watch it.
Yeah, let's go ahead and watch that movie.
Okay, we'll see you after the credits roll.
Yes. And back in the room. So, Ollie, question 1
What the hell was that?
I like how you can even wait for the question to utter that.
I don't know what that film was.
Neither do I, and I've seen it loads of times. Did you enjoy it, though?
I mean, I'm not sure. I mean, it was interesting, but only as a sort of... Well, not only... I'm still trying to process it.
Yeah. Did you think you'd have that kind of reaction watching this?
I did not, no.
Yeah, because I was like, oh my god, we should...
What did I just see?
Because I remember saying to you, oh, we should watch Babe 2, and you're like, yeah, okay. And because you hadn't seen it, you're like, why is he so desperate for me to watch this movie? And then you watched it, and it all made sense.
Yeah, sort of. Unlike the movie. Or the tone of it, anyway.
There's a lot to process, isn't there?
There is. I mean... Okay, sorry, we have questions to get to.
Yeah, the first one is, did you enjoy the movie?
Yeah. I mean... I wasn't bored at any point.
Well, I think that's the most important litmus test, isn't it?
Yeah.
You know, as long as a movie isn't boring, there's some merit in it.
Yeah. That's one of the rules I tend to have. Like, say, for instance,
The prequels is a good example. The Star Wars prequels, because people are like, oh, aren't they terrible? Like, yeah, but they're fun, so...
I mean, I was going to compare, like, The Rise of Skywalker to Batman v Superman. And, like, whereas The Rise of Skywalker is technically a worse written film, I would much rather watch it than Batman v Superman.
It's at least riveting and entertaining.
Yeah. But, yeah, I wasn't bored, but I was also not sure what I was looking at a lot of the time. Like, what was the tone of this film meant to be?
I mean, the movie makes you feel things, but I don't know what it wants you to feel.
No, I mean, it was really dark for what I assume was meant to be a kids' movie.
I assume it was. When we were watching this, he then told me and he said, was this meant to be a kids' movie?
Yeah, like, I mean, no, I was like, they are aware that Babe was a kids' movie, like, right? And you got all this, like, hanging by the neck imagery, and there's a lot of implications of drowning.
Yeah, there's a lot of drowning imagery, there's hanging by the neck imagery, there's dying imagery as well, quite a lot.
Yeah. And, I mean, right at the beginning, I thought the farmer was dead.
Well, I had a part to play in that. I played a prank.
But if that opening with him falling into the well and all of the bizarre coincidences that led to the farmer getting injured, if that was supposed to be slapstick, it didn't come off that way to me.
Yep, farmer dead. Enjoy your movie, kids.
Yeah. I mean, maybe the last bit when the thing falls on his head comes across as kind of slapstick, but the rest of it doesn't.
Yeah, it's filmed like a slapstick scene where you see the thing falling, you zoom in on the face of the guy looking extremely alarmed. It's filmed like it's a slapstick scene, but it's not.
The tone just isn't there.
You're watching the beloved mentor character from the first movie get, as far as you know, killed.
Yeah. The whole competition subplot is quickly discarded. And
I like that bait and switch, though.
Yeah. And then it's just one uncomfortable, horrible thing after another.
Yeah, because you see that there's that whole subplot where... Well, it's not even a subplot, it's the main plot of the movie. But it feels like a subplot in its own movie, where the farm is in financial trouble because the farmer... Yeah, because the farmer, has been injured.
Yeah. And, well, his wife can't handle everything.
So the banks go after them, and I did enjoy that imagery of the banks, like, the soulless people came and...
There's only one place people like that can come from.
The bank.
The bank.
I mean, it feels like it should be a joke, but you get Men in Black vibes from it. And I don't mean like the Will Smith Men in Black, I mean like the Men in Black ominous trope.
Yeah.
But yeah, the whole premise of this is the farmer's been injured, he accidentally fell down the well because of Babe inadvertently trapping him down there. Then he's injured, so he can't do anything. The farmer's wife, she has to do the work by herself, but she can't keep up, so the farm is in financial trouble. But she's got an invite to a sheep herding competition, which is what happened in the first movie. And there's, a financial award for that.
Yeah. Well, there's an appearance fee. He doesn't even have to win the competition.
Yeah, he doesn't even have to win, so there's no real pressure on him in this one. And you think, okay, that's going to be the premise of the movie. We're going to see more Babe shenanigans, communicating with the sheep, winning the competition.
Let's give credit where it's due. This movie doesn't feel the need to fall back on what it knows works.
That's true, it's not safe.
Yeah.
Nothing about this is safe.
No, I would say not.
It's not like they just made a crowd pleaser because they knew it would please the people who liked the first Babe.
Yeah. I'm not sure what they made and whether or not it was intentional.
I don't think the people who made this movie gave a shit what other people would think about it. And I'm not saying that in an insulting way, I'm saying...
No, I admire
they made
that.
the movie... Yeah, I admire it. They made the movie that they wanted to make, and with the hopes that the audience would appreciate it for what it is.
Whether anyone else wanted them to make it or not.
Exactly. But I can't help but think what was going through the producers and the money people's heads when they saw this movie getting made.
Yeah, it's like, okay, we need more Schindler's List vibes.
Yeah, we need to turn this hotel into the Warsaw Ghetto. Yeah, okay, let's film the hanging scene again. I don't think we got it right the first time.
Yeah. Let's see this pit bull lose consciousness with its head trapped underwater. That was horrible.
That was a hard scene to watch. Yeah. We didn't get it right the first time. We need to get the clown on a ventilator dying.
Jesus.
Because that's what you think of when you think of Babe, isn't it?
But in saving the pit bull's life, he wins his respect and therefore leadership of the hotel and establishes an egalitarian state.
That's right. These are things that happen in this movie.
Yes, this children's movie.
I like how they use the life debt trope.
Yeah.
In a Babe movie.
Like, the monkeys send him to his death to distract this pit bull, but he ends up saving his life, and now the pit bull owes him a life debt.
Did you think you'd be saying any of this going into this movie?
No.
There's a family of monkeys, and it's a family. They're meant to be characters we empathise with, yet the dad of the family leaves the pig to die, and none of them have anything to say about this.
Yeah, and, the patriarch, I suppose, what's his name? Solonius.
Yes, the orangutan.
Yeah, he's the de facto leader of the unit, as it were, and he doesn't acknowledge Babe as anything but a piece of meat, basically, because that's what pigs are to him. And there's this big bit at the end where he goes, "Thank the pig," and it's supposed to be really significant because Babe's earned his respect, but Babe was never trying to earn his respect.
And Babe has very little agency in these movies. Things just happen to him.
No, he just reacts to the situation around him.
Yeah, I mean, he occasionally decides to go out and do things, like in the first one where he decides to go back to the farmer after he's ran away, and, he decides to save them after they've been trapped in an animal testing lab. This happens in this movie, by the way.
Yeah. Sorry, I was going to say they've traded one prison for another, but the hotel wasn't really a prison, it was just...
It was more of a sanctuary, and it looks very hostile and dark and unwelcoming, and that is the movie's sanctuary.
Yeah, and the whole visual tone of this movie was quite dark, wasn't it? Yeah,
it felt very grimy and unwelcoming. Everything about this movie feels unwelcoming.
Yeah, the first 5 minutes look like Babe 1. The first movie, he's on the farm, everything's good, and then everything just takes a turn for the darkest.
I mean, I think it's genius because you couldn't get a more visual or thematic contrast to the farm, the location of the first movie, and you see it at the beginning just to give you a reminder as well.
Yeah, there's a lot more locations in this one. What did you say before we watched it about the budget?
It was something like triple the budget of the original Babe.
Yeah, I guess that shows. Why, though, is another question.
The budget of the first Babe was 30 million. Right.
Yeah.
And Babe Pig in the City was 90 million.
Babe Pig in the City was 90
So it cost 3 times as much to make Babe Pig in the City as it did to make Babe. It definitely shows, but it bombed at the box office.
I mean, it shows that they spent more money on it. I don't know if it shows 90 million. Although, I do like, as I said when we were watching it, the animal lip flap effects look surprisingly realistic for the time.
It's both great and infuriating. It's great because it looks genuinely very good and convincing. None of it takes you out of the experience. But it's frustrating because you see movies and adverts today, over 20 years later, that do that significantly worse and make it look terrible.
Yeah.
I mean, if Babe can do it, then why can't more modern movies do it?
Yeah.
It's like Cats and Dogs, although that was a bit cartoony, so maybe that's a bad example. It's probably deliberate there. But when you see like cat food adverts where the cat's mouth moves like, it just looks terrible. Yeah. As for me, I did enjoy this movie. You can see why I wanted you to watch it, can't you?
I can, yeah. I don't know what to make of it, even now, after having watched it.
It's widely considered to be better than the original, and it's got quite a cult following.
I can sort of see why. I'm not sure it's the kind of tone that I would go for. Especially in a kid's film.
I'm not sure if it's a movie I like, but it's a movie I appreciate and respect.
Yeah, I absolutely understand what you mean there.
Yeah, I mean, it's a bit like Felonious the Orangutan. You know, he's respectable, but he's not really likeable.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'd show this to a child.
I mean, I'm gonna say yes, I enjoyed the movie, but I don't know if I'd watch it again.
Yeah, it's not a fun time movie.
And you'd think it would be, being a sequel to Babe.
Well, let's be fair, the first Babe had its dark moments. It wasn't a sheltered movie by any stretch of the imagination.
No, this is true. Although, I just want to mention, because I've just remembered, Ferdinand the Duck spends half the movie trying to fly across the Atlantic to get to him, and then when he gets there, he doesn't really do anything.
Well, you say the Atlantic, but it's really hard to tell where this movie is set, because it's either Australia or New Zealand where these movies are primarily set, but the city, and I think this is actually quite genius, if you look carefully, there's multiple locations. You see Hollywood, you see the Eiffel Tower, you see the Space Needle, you see the Sydney Opera House, Christ the Redeemer, Statue of Liberty, all of these things in the same city. And it's quite genius because it's saying, well, it could be any city. And this is very much true. The only identifiable thing is that practically everybody speaks English, but that's important for the cohesiveness of the movie. It annoys me a little bit when you get science fiction movies. You're like, well, how does all the aliens know how to speak English? Well, I mean, would you rather be reading subtitles for the whole movie?
Yeah. Okay, maybe it's not the Atlantic, but he flies right across the ocean. And then
a vast expanse of water.
Yeah. And he doesn't really get anything to do.
No. I guess he's the comic relief of this movie.
Yeah, but he's not in that much of it to be that, is he? There was that bit where he got shot at.
I like how you added the at. Although with this movie, none of that would surprise me.
He lands on I think a shooting range, and the target comes up behind him, and then he flies away, but then instead of shooting at the target still, the people with guns shoot after him, and it's like they're not even shooting at the target anymore, they're just trying to kill the duck
for the sake of killing the duck. There's a lot of mean-spiritedness in this movie.
Yeah,
it's like in the first 10 minutes Babe gets mistaken for a drug mule.
Yeah.
I'm not joking. This actually happens at the airport.
Yeah.
I just like how... I say I like it. I respect how hostile they make everything look in this film. Because even from the moment where they arrive in the city and go to the hotel, which is probably the main setting of the movie, a plane flies over really low, and it doesn't sound like anything, but it's very big and imposing, and it looks bigger than it would be in real life.
Yeah.
The imagery of this movie is very surreal. It reminds me a bit of The Truman Show, actually, because that's another movie where everything is deliberately designed to not look quite right to our eyes, but make sense in that fictional world.
Yeah. Well, I think we're supposed to see things a bit from Babe's perspective in that sense.
And I like how, with a new urban setting, they stay away from more contemporary references, imagery, or even soundtrack, because there's a lot of operatic music and traditional, European songs in there, rather than anything that really dates it to the year 1998.
Yeah.
All of which is the right call, because they even say at the end of the movie that the farm is a little to the left of the 20th century. It's meant to feel dated.
I like how the person who owns the hotel, who first takes Babe in, is coded quite sinister, but turns out to not actually be a bad person, despite the fact that one of her relatives essentially kidnaps Babe to be in a circus.
Yeah, and that is really weird. Because that character doesn't actually say anything, the Mickey Rooney uncle who kidnaps the pig. And when he does, the plane flies over and obscures what he's saying. I didn't. I mean, I don't think it was meant to be funny. And I can't really say I laughed at it, but I liked that moment. Yeah,
that was a fun moment.
Also, for some reason, he was perving on the wife. I don't know why.
Yeah, that was
weird.
Odd.
And this character is in this movie for 20 minutes, and then he goes into a coma, never wakes up, and is taken away to his deathbed. And you see all this, by the way.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, in the space of 5 minutes, the farmer's wife gets arrested for accidentally inciting a riot between a biker gang and the police. The uncle is on his deathbed, having slipped into a coma, and what other awful things happen? The pig's starving because no one's around to feed him.
Did he ever get any food?
Yeah, they stole the jelly babies, remember, and they handed them out to all the animals.
Yeah, but, did he get any?
I don't know. Did Babe eat during this movie? I have no idea.
We didn't see it.
I mean, it only takes place over the space of a few days, and it takes place immediately after the first one as well.
It certainly was nice of Babe not to hold it against the monkeys that they tried to get him killed.
Yes, and when you said about the coding in this movie, what I've noticed is the characters that look the most sinister turn out to be the nicest characters. Because you've got the
hotel owner.
Woman, the hotel owner, who is first very mean to the farmer's wife, but it turns out was just a front to fool the neighbours.
Yeah.
And that's a weird subplot in this movie. There's some neighbours that don't like animals, and they report the animals to the authorities.
Yeah. And, well, speaking of coding, you get some real Gestapo vibes from them.
Yeah, I mean, we've already touched on this, but they turn the animal police, I don't know what to call them, the people trying to catch the animals to send them...
The animal control people.
Yeah, and I suppose they would be the Gestapo to animals, because one thing to keep in mind is this movie is very much shot as if it's from the animal's perspective.
Yeah.
Which I think is why the whole thing about the multiple city icons working is because it wouldn't matter to animals. Like, the animals wouldn't give a shit whether they see the Hollywood sign or the Eiffel Tower.
Yeah.
It means nothing to them. It's just, and everything looks bigger to them, and everything does look bigger in the city.
Yeah.
Also, yeah, the coding, because you've got the little monkey, which is the first of the monkeys we see, which steals the farmer's wife's suitcase, and Babe has to go after it.
Yeah.
And what I thought was interesting to note is he was the first one of them, out of all the animals, to help Babe when he was trying to save the drowning dog.
Yeah.
And I liked that, how the one who was the first to slight him was also the first to eventually help him.
Yeah.
Because they all eventually come round to Babe's side when they see he's kind-hearted and helps them. Also, more weird coding. The poodle, who I think is coded in a prostitute way?
Yeah, that does seem to be the tone.
Yeah, there is a tonally prostitute dog in this movie, in Babe.
Right. Yeah. I don't really know what to make of that. I don't know what to make of a lot of the choices here.
Yeah, there's prostitution references, there's drug references. This is a kids' movie.
In the climax, and this slightly annoyed me, there's a precariously positioned pyramid of full champagne glasses that doesn't get smashed.
Yeah, it's subverting our expectations, but the cakes do. You know, Chekhov's cake returns.
Yeah.
That's always fun to see.
Harkening back to the Dunstan checks in video, which hasn't actually gone up yet at time of recording. We haven't launched the channel yet.
You'll see. It's a very good-looking movie.
I mean, I don't dispute that, but I don't know if I'd agree.
Okay, do elaborate.
I mean...
Is impressive a better word?
Yeah, I think impressive would be a better word.
Yeah, it's a very impressive-looking movie.
Yeah, I wasn't particularly taken in by the visuals, but then I suppose...
That's the point. It's meant to be off-putting.
Yeah.
They made this movie off-putting deliberately. They also did the lampshade trope, quite literally, where Ferdinand was hiding from the animal Gestapo with a lampshade on its head.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that happened. What is the meaning of the judge that helps the farmer's wife twice?
Well, I think he's just supposed to be sympathetic towards her. I mean, the first joke is that he looks a little bit like a pig. So when he points her to the hotel, like, you know, I guess that's what you're supposed to notice.
Yeah, and there's the sort of circus music going with that. You're led to believe this character is more important than he is, but he's literally the only nice person in this movie because he helps her selflessly twice.
Yeah.
And it's weird when this movie, I think, tries to be funny. Because they do a few jokes, especially towards the end. But you can't really do the rounding up the animals scene and then do a joke afterwards, can you?
No. It just... Like, I acknowledged the joke, but I wasn't in the sufficient state to laugh at it.
It didn't feel like the joke was trying to make us laugh. Well, why have a joke in the first place? Yeah. I mean, it's like when the farmer's wife's clothes split because she gets covered in sticky glue and it dries and it makes her clothes split. I think it was meant to be a joke, but I'm not sure.
Yeah. Well, the upshot of her clothes being ruined is that she has to wear the clown outfit because that's the only thing the hotel owner has that will fit her.
She has to wear a clown outfit, and there's a bit where she's riding on the bike to get to the children's hospital while dressed as a clown, but it's not really funny, even though it looks funny.
Yeah.
Because the next thing you see is the children's hospital and ill children.
Yeah. The tone in this movie is weird. Like, and...
It's like they remembered they had to add some jokes in, but they added them in at the most inappropriate times.
Yeah. I don't know whether I'd like this film if I saw it as a kid.
I know what you mean. I found it interesting as a kid. It's sort of like some sort of experiment that you can't look away from.
Yeah, I think that's a pretty good summary of what we experienced.
There was exactly one joke in this movie that did make me laugh, though.
What was that again?
That was when the elevator opens and you see all the animals inside and they're not looking. People aren't looking and they're oblivious to the animals in the elevator. That actually worked as a joke for me.
Yeah. What? I mean... Yeah, I vaguely remember that bit. How do I vaguely remember that? We just watched it.
So, the question was, did you enjoy the movie? My answer was yes, but... And your answer was, I'm not sure, but...
Yeah. I mean... I enjoyed watching it, but I don't think I would choose to watch it again. It's not for me.
No. I don't know who it is for.
No.
And that brings us on... Yeah, that brings us on nicely to question 2. How well did the film achieve its goals, and what were they?
Well, part 1 I'd love to tell you, but part 2 I have no fucking idea.
Because there's the basic, they made a sequel to Babe because the first one was very successful and beloved. They succeeded in making the movie.
I mean, yeah. I mean, it was a bit of a flop, apparently, as you said. So, I guess...
It's not got much rewatch value, as you've already hinted on. I don't know who would go see this in the cinema and then go to see it again. I could, however, see, I know, some film students going to see it and then telling their friends, oh my god, you have to see this Babe movie.
It is a very interesting film to think about, I think.
If I was a university lecturer in media, I would probably show my students this film.
Yeah, I mean...
I don't, however, think I would show my children this film.
I feel a bit at a disadvantage at the moment, because I'm not finding myself having much to say, but I'm still digesting what I saw. Analysis isn't really something I can do off the cuff. Like, I'll probably digest this film over the next day or two, and then have more stuff to say about it.
Yeah, I mean, we do have a Twitter to use, so if you have anything you're dying to say about Babe, you can do that.
Yeah, I'll
By the way, follow us on Twitter, follow us on Facebook. If you're not subscribed, subscribe already.
All relevant links in the description, I guess.
Indeed.
Yeah. But yeah, this one I think is going to be a delayed reaction kind of thing for me, because I'm still trying to
yeah, you feel a bit
it
stunned
in my head.
Yeah, it's a movie that stuns you.
Yeah.
I remember your reaction when you thought the farmer died.
I was like, oh, is he dead? What the hell?
I did actually jokingly say, yeah, he's dead, and you believed me until you see him. He's still badly maimed and injured, and it's not very pleasant to see. You've got this beloved character from the first movie, and then 5 minutes in, he's got like a neck brace and an arm brace, and he's badly bruised. It looks too real to be comfortable.
Yeah. And then he gives Babe a stroke to say, oh, it's alright, it wasn't your fault.
That was a nice moment,
yeah.
And this movie does have its very warm, touching moments.
Yeah. I mean, like...
As you'd expect, because Babe, the first movie, is known for being a very emotionally resonant and compassionate movie.
Well, it's hard not to like Babe as a protagonist, because he's fucking adorable.
He's animal Jesus.
That's how he's treated by the other animals once he rescues the pit bull, though.
Which is appropriate, because he was always very kind and pure in the first movie.
Yeah.
And his whole flaw is that he felt inadequate, and he believed also that he was too believing of others who were trying to take advantage of him, which carries on to this one.
Yeah, that's true. It's consistent.
I mean, it is shown that there's drawbacks to his kindness. He's not gullible, because he does get wise, and that was the name of one of the chapters in this movie.
Yeah.
But he is very ready to see the good in others.
Yeah.
And considering not many characters are that good in this movie...
Yes, this is true.
I mean, perhaps we're judging the monkeys too harshly, because they are a family, everyone in the hotel's quite insular, and it's understanding why they've got to protect their own first, but, you know, that's still no excuse to be shitty to Babe.
Yeah. Much less try to get him killed. Or,
that happens.
At the very least, show no concern if he will be.
Exactly. They don't try and help him.
Yeah.
And he's not in on the plot. They trick Babe into thinking that the deadly dogs are the attack dogs that he has to distract to get into the shop to steal the sweets are sheep.
Yeah, for him to herd.
Yeah. Yeah, so how well did the film achieve its goals? Not very well, I'm afraid to say, because it did very badly, although, like a lot of movies that bombed in the box office, it does have more of a following afterwards, a bit like Scott Pilgrim and Shawshank Redemption.
Financially, no. Artistically, what the fuck were they?
I would actually like to explore the head of the people who made this movie.
Sorry, I don't actually know if you plan to bleep swear words, so
No.
I'll use less of them.
It's fine. Use them sparingly. They're good for emphasis. I'm not one of these people who are prudish about swearing.
Yeah, but I swear like a sailor, so...
I've heard a lot worse on it. Yeah, I would love to see a making of documentary for this movie, just to better understand what was going on in the director's head.
Oh yeah, like, I mean, if there is director's commentary on the Prime version, I might actually watch this again with that on.
Oh wow, do you know who directed this?
Who?
George Miller.
Remind me?
Best known for Mad Max, Mad Max 2, and Fury Road. It shows, doesn't it?
Yeah, for some reason that doesn't surprise me in the least.
He also directed The Witches of Eastwick and Happy Feet.
Quite a resume there.
And it says produced the family-friendly fantasy adventure Babe and directed the sequel Pig in the City. I like how they emphasise family-friendly.
Yeah. I don't know if I'd show this to my kids if I had them.
I wouldn't call this movie family-friendly. I wouldn't even call it people-friendly, to be honest with you.
I mean, I wouldn't not show it to my kids. Like, I wouldn't bar them from watching it. I'm not for kids' entertainment. That's a dated reference.
Yeah. Yeah, what would they do? Censor Babe and change all the characters' names? I don't know, give all the animals trousers so they're not nude. But yes, this was based on the very old Dick King Smith story. Funny aside about that, when I was younger, I used to get Philip K. Dick and Dick King Smith mixed up.
Yeah.
And so I thought that the person who wrote Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep and The Man in the High Castle also wrote Babe. And I thought, well, what an incredible mind to come up with such distinctly different things.
Yeah. Well, it's not the worst confusion I've ever heard. A mutual friend of ours once confused C.S. Lewis and Louis C.K.
I know this story.
I mean...
Oh,
all he said to me was, I heard that C.S. Lewis did another stand-up thing, and just the trail of thoughts that led me on was hilarious.
How about these lions, walking around?
Oh.
If Aslan's bigger than the average lion, does that mean his knob's bigger than the average lion?
Okay, can we not dwell on...
Sorry, I was just...
Can we not dwell on Louis C.K.'s version of The Lion, the Witch and the Wardrobe, please?
No, that would be a bad idea for this video.
Yeah.
So, what were the film's goals? Who could say, really?
It certainly wasn't to be a feel-good movie.
No. Although it does ultimately have a happy ending. We can emphasise that. And it is rewarding when we see it just because of how much shit all the characters go through for this. The dog, remember when the dog went flying and nearly died?
Yeah.
And that dog was uncomfortably close to the tyre of that car as well.
Yeah, and then gets thrown off. And then you see him jumping around in a meadow with the dog wheelchair, like, just left behind him. And is it trying to tell us he died?
Yeah, obvious heaven imagery there.
Yeah. Like, I mean, at that point, I was ready to believe that of this movie.
This is the kind of movie that would kill a dog.
Yeah. I don't like seeing that.
No, it's uncomfortable. Yeah, you know how you see the disclaimer on movies, no animals were harmed during the production of this movie?
Yeah.
I watched this movie and I find that hard to believe. Because you've got the drowning dog hanging by its neck, you've got the pig hanging by its neck, you've got the goldfish suffocating on land that has to be spat into the water, you've got the dog being flung across a road into a wall, you've got Ferdinand being shot at.
Yeah.
Everything is yikes. You've got the little baby monkeys dropping from the ceiling. Everything is yikes.
It's a tough watch, isn't it?
It's a danger movie. And I'm not prepared for that.
Yeah. It is a tough watch.
It is. Let's move on to question 3. Did the movie exceed your expectations?
I don't know about exceeded, but it sure as hell...
Subverted.
Yeah, it sure as hell subverted them. For lack of a better term.
What were you expecting to see?
I don't know, a nice family film about an animal that wins a talent contest. Like, I don't know, maybe he runs up against some snooty sheepdogs who, like, just look down on him and are mean to him, and he has to impress them. You know,
you
that
expect
kind
to
of
rehash.
thing.
You expect to rehash of the first one, don't you?
Pretty much, yeah.
It's sort of like when you read the movie was originally intended to be darker and grittier, set in a dystopian future, like with Holes. Yeah, it's like one of those very early pitches that you read about when you think, oh, wouldn't that have been terrible? Like the original Toy Story 3 idea about Buzz being taken back because he was defective. It's like that idea, except they actually did it this time.
How would that even work, Buzz being defective and being sent back? I mean, surely he's past warranty at this point.
Yeah, I don't remember what the plot was, but it was a very ill-conceived.
Yeah.
You can understand why they didn't go with it.
Yeah.
But apparently they did start making it, but they scrapped it when they realised how terrible it was. And then they started making the actual Toy Story 3, which was quite a good movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm surprised that this movie left the first draft stage, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I can see what you mean. I mean, tonally it could have done with another writing pass, I think.
I agree.
Yeah.
I do, however, like that movies like this can exist.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not sorry I saw it.
Yeah, I think that life would be very sterile if every movie was safe and never took any risks.
Yeah. And again, as I said, you can't accuse this one of rehashing the original.
No, and that's sort of what you expected to happen.
Yeah. You know what this reminds me of in an odd way in terms of the tone?
Go on.
Return to Oz as compared to The Wizard of Oz.
Oh, that's a brilliant analogy.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, apparently Return to Oz is closer to the tone of L. Frank Baum's books.
Yeah, I can believe that.
But as a sequel to The Wizard of Oz, it's really fucking dark.
I didn't like Return of Oz as a kid. I just found it too uncomfortable. It's like the headless moose.
I was slightly obsessed with
wheelers.
it. Like I've still,
yeah.
Like I always used to catch like the last 20 minutes of it on Sky Movies. To this day, I don't think I've ever managed to watch it start to finish. But I was slightly obsessed with trying to.
Yeah. Yeah, I see what you mean. You can that's a funny thing. Before the whole Netflix era, you could never really guarantee yourself to catch the whole of the movie, could you?
I can see this being one of those movies for a kid where it's like it's not fun, but you somehow can't look away.
It was for me. I couldn't take my eyes off it. I was perplexed by this movie as a 10-year-old.
Yeah.
Yeah, I couldn't believe it existed.
Yeah. Now, I don't remember much of the original Babe, so please correct me if I'm wrong. It was not anywhere near this dark, was it?
No, I think you'd be misremembering it if you thought of it as a completely kid-friendly, bright movie where nothing ever went wrong, because you had stuff like the very jealous cat who tried to have Babe killed.
Yeah, and I remember the cat being, like, the conversation with the cat being very dark, and I remember the sheep dying and that being very sad.
Yes, and of course the farmer nearly shooting Babe because he thought that Babe had killed the sheep.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not like the original didn't have its dark moments, but it felt like
what
that
did
was
happen to the sheep? I don't remember.
Got mauled by wild wolves.
Ah.
Then died of blood loss.
Yeah.
Which feels more like something that would happen in this movie, actually. I suppose what you could say is Babe 1 was 80% kid-friendly and bright and 20% dark and grisly.
And those dark and grisly moments were all the more memorable for that, I think.
I think they were shocking because they were sparing.
Yeah, whereas in this movie, if you mention something disturbing, there's so much that you probably wouldn't remember a lot of it.
About halfway through it becomes a little bit senseless. It's a bit too shocking and a bit too often to have any lasting impact. It's just like, oh, well, here's the next terrible thing that's happened then. Yeah. Instead of it really impacting you.
Yeah, where are we with questions?
I'm just finishing off on this point, but yeah, the original Babe was 80% child-friendly and bright and optimistic and 20% dark and brooding. Babe 2 was 80% dark and brooding and 20% bright and optimistic.
Yeah.
Because it has its hopeful moments, it's just... I think we needed a bit more.
Yeah. And the comedy that is in there doesn't really land because we're primed for the negativity.
No, exactly.
Yeah.
So the movie was different from my expectations.
Yeah.
And for you?
Yeah. I mean, I had no expectations, but I didn't expect this.
Exceed is the wrong word. It
Defy, I think, would be a better word.
Yeah, it defied your expectations.
Yeah.
Okay, question 4. Is there an element of a film that particularly appeals?
I don't think so, no. Like, I wouldn't say there's anything that I would have watched this movie for. I mean, I suppose Babe himself, the character's just adorable. It's really cute.
Yeah, he's a very likeable protagonist.
Yeah.
Because he's very pure. He only cares about others. I mean, he never really seems to give any second thought to his own self-preservation.
Yeah.
And I think that's what makes this movie interesting, is that he contrasts so differently to the dog-eat-dog world that, no pun intended, all the other animals live in.
Yeah.
In the city.
I'm glad they got Hugo Weaving back, even if it was just basically for a bit part.
Yeah, I mean, he had about as much screen time as Christopher Lee had in Return of the King, basically. But it was nice. They got everybody back, which is remarkable, really.
Yeah.
I mean, who would have thought that the farmer's wife would be the action-packed heroine in this one?
Yeah.
That's a good performance. I will give her that. That was a very good performance.
That's one of the things I like more about this film, though.
Yes. Yeah, I enjoyed that.
Yeah. I also like how she, I mean, you'd think that someone else in her position would abandon Babe at the airport because there was no choice. But she doesn't do that.
Well, she knows how much Babe means to Farmer Hoggett.
Yeah.
And that's the last bit of dialogue they have with each other in the movie.
Yeah.
Before they set off for the adventure.
Yeah.
Well, I say adventure. Is it really considered an adventure if 80% of it's in a hotel room?
It's more a series of unfortunate events.
Yeah, no pun intended. And it feels similar in a way, but with a bit less charm.
Yeah.
Because that was a very edgy book series, but it did at least have some sort of gruesome charm to it.
Is the movie they made of that with Jim Carrey in it, is that within our time period?
Yes, it is.
Huh.
So that's something we can watch.
Yeah, possibly. Was
that a Tim Burton movie?
I don't think so. I mean, although I can understand why you might think it was.
You would be forgiven for thinking so.
Yeah. I don't remember it being a Tim Burton movie specifically, but I suppose it has the look of one in places.
It also has the feel of one.
Yeah.
Yeah, is there any element of a film that particularly appeals? I respect this movie, like I said before, for being so different and taking so many risks.
Yeah.
I get the feeling that they silently acknowledged they weren't going to make their money back from this, which is really weird considering they made it.
Yeah. And what were they expecting out of Babe 2? Babe doesn't strike me as a franchise movie.
No, which is again why I'm surprised I made that video game of this movie 8 years later.
Yeah. Did you ever find out what kind of game that was?
Yeah, I said earlier, it's a puzzle game.
Oh, yeah. Sorry, we only recorded that yesterday. What is with my brain lately?
I don't know. I'm not even going to ask. Alright, shall we move on to question 5?
Okay, yeah.
How does the film hold up today?
I think it holds up today about as well as it ever would have.
Yeah, it's a timeless movie in as much that it can have a time, because I don't know when this movie will be appropriate.
Yeah, I mean, there's no particularly dated CGI that well, apart from the fish.
Yeah, other than the fish, it looks quite good.
Yeah. Like, everything else,
And the fish is a very minor character who appears about 2 or 3 times throughout the whole movie, so it's no big deal.
Everything else looks like it could have been released at any time.
Yeah.
I suppose if you would have liked that film when it came out, you'll probably like it now.
Yeah, I don't have anything to add to that. I think you've summed it up.
Yeah.
Was the film received appropriately at the time?
I'm not sure. I would say, how did it do at the box office?
It made 69.1 million back, which is a nice number, but it's not making your money back. They didn't even break even.
And what's the, how was it with critics?
Good question. I'm going to check out Rotten Tomatoes.
You'd think this would be the thing that we both do before the recording.
It's a fluid process, Ollie.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to call it. I'm going to say it will have a higher critics rating than audience rating.
I can see why you'd say that.
Yeah, care to disagree, or...?
No, I think you're right.
I called it, Ollie. Rotten Tomatoes says audience score of 40%, critics consensus of 65%, and it says not quite as good as the original and has some dark subject material that might not be appropriate for children.
Yeah.
Hard to disagree with that.
Seems about right, yeah.
I mean, we often go against the grain. We review movies that everyone says are terrible and like them. Sometimes we think that movies that everyone likes are a bit overrated. But on this one, I think they've got it on the money.
Yeah. Well, I never try to be a contrarian for the sake of it.
No, it's just naturally sometimes you'll disagree with others, and that's okay.
Yeah.
Here's something interesting. Dick King-Smith, OBE, the author of this, the Sheep Pig book,
yeah,
did live to watch this movie, so I can't help but think what he thought of it, if he saw it.
Yeah, I mean, you have to wonder.
Yeah, I would be very curious to see what his views are, and I'm also going to be on the lookout. And hit me up in the comments, by the way, if you know of such a thing, of some sort of making of documentary, or failing that, just interviews from the cast, the director, anybody involved in the making of this movie, because I'm really curious to see what they thought of it, or what they were intending to do with this movie.
Yeah.
I don't understand this movie, I'll say that.
No, nor do I.
In summary, Ollie.
It's going to take me a while to digest what I saw and form a more concrete opinion. I didn't not enjoy the film. I wasn't bored, but I don't know if I would choose to watch it again.
Yeah.
I definitely wouldn't have gone to the cinema to see this knowing what it was like.
And maybe that's why it didn't do particularly well at the cinema. Maybe the first people who went to see it ended up in conversations and they said, so what do you think of the new Babe movie? Don't bother, it's really weird. That's probably what happened a lot.
It is really weird, though.
You can see why people would watch the first one multiple times.
Yeah.
Because it has a charm. It's become a Christmas staple, at least in the UK. Whereas this one, it's probably more likely to staple you in the gut than be a staple movie.
Yes, I would agree. Is that it, then?
Yeah, I don't have much different to say to you, Ollie. I think everybody should watch this at least once.
Yeah, maybe you can figure out what it was going for.
I'm also genuinely and non-ironically interested to see what the audience of this video think of this movie if they've seen it before.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Bold of you to assume we'll have an audience.
Well, hope springs eternal, Ollie.
Yep. I mean, we haven't launched the channel yet, as I say, anything's possible.
Yeah, I was going to plug our launch party this Sunday, but you can't really do that in September, can you?
No, at the point that this video goes up, we'll have launched a month ago.
Yeah, fingers crossed, dudes, fingers crossed.
Yeah.
So, that was Babe 2. It made us, well, it didn't make us laugh. It made us cry, but not necessarily for the right reasons. It's a film that got made, and that fact defies all logic.
Babe 2, Pig in the City. It exists.
And I'm glad it does, because if movies like this couldn't get made, I'd think there'd be something intrinsically wrong with the film industry, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I mean, I'm glad that the director got to make the film he clearly wanted to make, whether anyone else wanted him to make it or not. And
I finally get to say this, but I'm not sure this movie would be made today.
No, I don't think it would.
I don't think they could get away with making a movie like this today.
It's a little dark for the kids. There was that period of really fucked up kids movies like Watership Down.
Yeah, and there's nothing wrong with that or harmful in any way.
This feels more at home with that kind of vibe, I think. Not exactly going that far, but you know what I mean.
No, it's not as endearing as those kinds of movies.
I'm going to be thinking on this for a while.
Yeah, I don't know. Perhaps one day we could do a retrospective video if we ever felt like it.
Perhaps we can.
Would you watch us? Tell us if you would. We might just do it. Because we're mad like that.
Yeah.
Thank you for joining us.
Yeah. Okay, we'll see you next week for... and in case we don't see you, good afternoon, good evening, and good night.
Yes. Indeed. Really. Wrong movie.
Mine was a reference to the actual film.
Yeah. Somebody stop me! Sorry.
If only we could.
Okay, we will see you next week. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for joining us.